Welcome to the after sermon where we get a chance to sit down with this week's communicator, like literally right off the stage, and talk about maybe things that didn't get talked about in the sermon. And if you haven't listened to the sermon, I'd encourage you to go to our YouTube channel or any of your podcasting platforms, listen to it. But Michelle, you literally just came off the stage.
Did, yeah.
We chased you down in the lobby.
Yes.
Drug you up here.
Kind of terrifying, actually.
It can be. Daniel can be.
Daniel can be aggressive.
Yeah.
Get up
well, this
there.
podcast is important.
Yeah, it is.
So let me ask you, as you kicked off this series, Built, we're talking through Nehemiah, you used a singular line that I think is exceedingly important as it relates not just to the wall, but to our lives. Would you reframe that for us?
The big idea was God built his kingdom through ordinary people willing to serve. And he does it over and over and over again. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, that this is God, like God of the entire universe, creator, author of all things, who chooses to build his kingdom through just ordinary people like you and me. Like, why would he do that? Right?
Why would he do that?
Why would he do that? And yet that's how God operates. And it's so exquisite and beautiful that he chooses to do that way. So we get to participate in what he's doing, which gives us a window into his character, but also gives us the opportunity to participate in his glory.
Well, I think when you say participate, I think that's really key, because sometimes I get the sense that, I don't get the sense, I sit across from people who feel like they're observers of their own life, that all of life is just sort of, they're just watching it happen, and then think about the kingdom, and it's almost magnified, where it's like, oh, well, it's a bunch of other people, professionals, whatever.
They have skills and talents, and they're like, that somehow they've gotten a degree in it, and that's why they're doing it.
Talk to that person. What do you say to that person who is like, I don't think they're meaning to sit on the sidelines necessarily, right?
Yeah, but they just don't think that they have anything to offer. And yet that's the beauty of the story of Nehemiah. So chapter 3 lists the people that participated in the rebuilding of the wall. And by the way, this was a massive endeavor to rebuild a wall that was 9 feet thick in some places. That's huge.
Yes.
They did it. So the wall had been desolate for 100 years. They rebuilt it in 52 days. Wow. Not even 2 months.
Wow. I wonder if they could work on the new Broncos stadium.
Do you think maybe? Or maybe the construction on I-25? And these were perfume makers, goldsmiths. And one verse talks about the daughters of this guy stepped up and helped out. There were priests who were not construction workers. And then there were palace administrators. And these were not your typical construction crew. And yet that's how God operates. And, it really wasn't about the skills that were brought, even though it's always nice to use our gifts, but it really wasn't about the skill set that was brought to the project. It was about willingness and faithfulness.
Yeah.
And belief in God, belief in the power and the presence of God to do what he said he was going to do. And boy, something happens when we just offer our ordinary selves to a God who's extraordinary. And man, he can multiply even the tiniest of offerings.
Yeah. There's a saying, availability is an ability.
Yes.
Just the general sense of being available. And how many times, for real, do you come across a story personally, anecdotally, in passing, where someone says, my life was fundamentally altered because someone just cared. They just were available. They just listened. They reached out, whatever that looks like. And I think we underestimate that ability of just availability.
I mean, David, we see that in the life of David. He was just a shepherd, not a warrior, and he took down Goliath and became a king. We see it in Moses, who was like a convict. I mean, he was like a murderer who had run away, and God uses him to be the deliverer of his people. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Men and women who simply said, you know what, I'm a mess, but God, I'm yours, and use me however you see fit. And God said, I will.
He really does.
And he did.
He still does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even think, I've talked about this before, but like I have a speech disability. I'm the last person that should be speaking. And yet, for whatever reason, God says, I can use that. Like, and so those of us who tend to disqualify ourselves based on what we lack, God's saying that's not even what I'm looking at. That's not even the qualification I'm looking for. I'm looking for just believe me and trust me and be willing. That's all.
Well, I think you have one category of probably people who disqualify themselves because of ability, right? Where they say subconsciously or consciously, I don't know what the Bible says. So that's one area, right? Where you say, look, it's about availability. All the other things will fall into place. But I do think in our culture, there's a second type of person, and it's the person who just is so busy, just cranking through life.
We self-select out. Right.
If you were talking to someone like that, what would you say to them?
Well,
because it's most of us. When I say them, it's us. It's us, right?
And I talked about this. I talked about this in the message where we are so busy building our own little kingdoms, right? We are so busy because we really have started to see the timeline of our life from birth to 75 or 77, whatever the average lifespan is now, that is our kingdom, and that we're going to make it count, right? Yeah, totally. But we're seeing such a small story compared to the gospel story. And so part of what we need to do ongoing is to shift and see God's kingdom, see our little stories in God's bigger story, seeing these lifespans of ours as being part of something far grander, far better, and far more lasting than anything we can do in the 75 years of our life. And that requires spiritual eyes, quite frankly, like the ability to say, is this really enough? Like my 75 years, is that really enough? But the truth is, it all comes to an end. And we're going to say, okay, well, I need something that's going to last beyond me. Well, guess what? God has that.
And I do know this. I've never met someone who gave themselves to this concept of, hey, God, use me in other people's lives, that they look back and went, well, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
No, it's just not, it doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't
It doesn't mean it's easy.
That's right.
Like the journey, I mean, building a wall
it's hard work.
Required sweat and work. I'm sure they had blisters on their hands and everything else. But when the wall was done in 52 days, I don't think one of the people that lifted the stone regretted being a part of it.
Well, and I see it all the time where you think about some of the biggest moments of your life, moments where your life was bigger than your kingdom. An interaction with someone caring in a way that was, wasn't required of you. And you look back at those moments and there is something about them where you see someone thriving in a way that they wouldn't have been thriving if you wouldn't have been available to be Jesus in their life. And that isn't to say that we carry some sort of, well, we do carry something though. That's just it. Like as a believer, we carry the Holy Spirit. We carry the presence
of God within us.
And that matters.
Yeah.
It's important. And you don't regret, you will not regret it.
No, that's so interesting because I had another birthday this past week, and every time you grow a year older, at least for me, you do a lot of reflecting, right?
Certainly.
And so I look back, and let me tell you that my life has not turned out like I thought it would. Like I can, at every turn, some kind of plan that I had got derailed. And yet when I look at my life now, I would not have it any other way. Like there is something that God has done through all of the breaking and rebuilding that is so far beyond anything I could ask or imagine, that there is no way you could tell me, like if somebody said, if you could go back and do it all over again, would you? No way. No way. Because what God's kingdom has accomplished is far grander than any of my lesser kingdoms and plans.
Gosh, that is like such an important lesson, because I think we've had side conversations all week about the last few weeks. And I have thought a lot about, I'm not having a birthday. In fact, I'm wearing this little band that said I'm getting younger.
Well, look at you. My husband does the same thing, by the way.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
does.
just
I
stop,
want to check with
stop.
I want to check with Troy to see if we can compare. Are we getting younger? But
he lets me know. He goes, I'm 56.5 this week.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, he and I are going to have to talk. But even in that journey, I look back and I think, best seasons of my life are not the seasons where I was comfortable, where I was building my little kingdom, where it was all about me. I'm tempted to do that.
Oh, I'm tempted at every turn.
At every turn, I'm tempted to be more comfortable because I think about the wall. It's like, well, I could go home and chill out and eat some pita bread, or I could lift these. I'm a perfume maker, or I could lift this rock and build this thing. And every time we step into a God direction, no matter how much the lift, how much it costs, we step out, we choose his kingdom over our comfort. I have looked back in the same way and thought,
wouldn't have it any other way.
No other way. But
not easy in the moment, but boy, so worth it.
It's worth it.
So worth it.
Right. And there's a generation, there's a people looking for a way to live, right? To build something that means something. Like in this short life that we have, to leave something behind. And I think this story, and this is just the beginning of the story.
Just the beginning. We've got 3 more weeks of it.
And then beyond, like you look, Nehemiah, it's pointing to something, as the scriptures do, to something that leads all the way to us. That's pretty cool. So,
it is.
Well, thank you for preaching, and thank you for tuning in. As I aforementioned, if you have not listened to this message, I want to encourage you to do so. Go to YouTube, watch it, go download a podcast app. If you don't have one, get one and listen to the message. I promise you it is worth the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. We'll see you next time. Grace and peace.